on the agenda tonight. So we'll start with our administrative items now, with item 3.1, which is a request for a subdivision plot amendment for property line adjustments between lots 51 and 52 and lots 73 and 74 of the Rose Crest plot. And then Michael.
Thank you. This is a fairly routine item that the Planning Commission reviews periodically in this meeting. One thing that's a little bit different about this request is the fact that there's 4 parcels involved, but they're not all joined. They're not all adjacent. It just is 4 different parcels within the same phase of subdivision. And we're trying to get this to move forward. As mentioned in the staff report, all property owners within the 4 lots have submitted an affidavit acknowledging the project and giving permission to the applicant to represent their interests in this meeting. Because we received all property owners' permissions or signatures on the project, we did not need to notice this as a public hearing. It is, of course, as a public meeting, and we did advertise this agenda tonight. The purpose of the amendment is to essentially realign lot lines with fence line. And one of the owners was intending to sell some property, one of the lots, and before he sold the property, he wanted to correct this legal description for the property. It looks like you might have to be my clicker tonight, Destiny. It just doesn't seem to want to go. Oh, it's not turned on. Chase was too efficient at saving energy. That's what it is. So yeah, here are the 4 different parcels again, and you can see the relationship of the lot lines with the fence line, and so that's what the applicant is trying to cure. So staff has reviewed this, found it to be compliant with city standards, and has recommended approval for the commission's consideration tonight.
All right, is the applicant present, and do you have any additional information to add? And you can just come up and please state your name.
My name is Weston Barney. Looks like it's listed as Barney Weston. Happens all the time here, but it's actually Weston Barney.
I'll put a comment. It'll look like it's last name first.
Wouldn't be the first, won't be the last time. So, yeah, these are my properties here. It's just to line up the fence line, which it's always been that way in the transaction of purchasing and selling these properties. It's always come up, and so I thought I hired a surveying crew to do this about 1.5 years ago. They've kind of dropped the ball, and so I've just picked it up and tried to get it finished. Bryn was working on it for quite a while, and now it's transferred through to the current administration, who's been great to work with. So just a simple line adjustment.
All right, thank you. Any questions for the applicant? All right, seeing none, do you mind just wiping down up there with one of the Lysol wipes? Thank you so much. Then we'll look at the City Planning Commission for any additional comments or remarks and potentially a motion at this time.
I'd like to make a motion for item 3.1, request for subdivision plat amendment of property line adjustments.
All right, Brody with Adam with a second, and we'll call for a vote. Heather?
Yes.
Brody?
Yes.
Andrea? Jackson?
Yes.
Adam? Andy? All right, that passes with unanimously, and we'll move on to item 3.2. Thank you for your time. 3.2, which is a request for a subdivision plot amendment to subdivide 3 fee-owned lots for 10 existing townhomes in the village at the Boulders, Phase 3, Lot F, amended subdivision. And we'll look at city staff for additional information.
Okay, again, this is similar to our last item, except for oftentimes in these townhomes, we may have a buyer who will purchase a block of townhomes or condos, and eventually they have an interest in selling some of the units, which the good thing about that is typically when you see these individual units created by subdivision, it encourages home ownership. It's oftentimes transitioning from a rental to a unit that's being occupied by the homeowner. Doesn't have to, but it does facilitate that or encourage it. Now, Destiny, I do have it on, and it's not moving forward. Okay. So this is the vicinity map of this project. Again, all property owners involved in the request have submitted agent authorization forms and acknowledgements of ownership, which staff has verified. The preliminary plat amendment has been reviewed by engineering, and staff has recommended approval of the request tonight.
Thank you, Michael. And if the applicant's here and would like to come up and if there's any additional information. Thank you, James. Are there any additional questions for the applicant from the Planning Commission? It looks like there are no questions for you, James. Thank you for being present. And then we'll look for the Planning Commission for additional remarks or a motion at this time. Motion by Adam,
I'll second.
second by Jackson, and we'll call for a vote. Andrea? Andy? Adam? Jackson?
Yes.
Brody?
Yes.
And Heather?
Yes.
All right, thank you so much. And then we'll move on to item 3.3, which is a request for review of building elevations and exterior materials for garage grill. And then we'll turn to city staff for additional remarks here.
Thank you again. So as mentioned, this is a review of only the building elevations for compliance with the commercial design standards. This project had been previously approved by the Planning Commission as far as the site plan, the landscaping, the parking. All of those issues were approved by the Planning Commission on September 3rd of this year, or 2020, excuse me, of 2020. The property is part of a pending subdivision, which also has been reviewed and approved by the Planning Commission. The property has not been recorded yet, but I know that the developer for this project is working on that, and we expect that to happen very, very soon. Property is zone C2, so commercial. And again, this is the preliminary plat that is nearly ready to record. It's lot 1 of this property is where the garage grill is being located. Just included some reference in here as far as where the building sits in relationship to Mountain View Corridor. This was the elevations that was shown to the Planning Commission at the time of the conditional use review and approval. We identified as staff that this did not satisfy the masonry requirement of 60% in the materials. So that's why this part of the project needed to come back. There was also a reference about signage. We typically are very clear with our applicants that any approval with the Planning Commission, that the sign review is a separate request. And so this, again, we're focusing just on building materials. The signage will be submitted by another party involved, and we'll look at the sign for compliance with our sign code. Again, these were the plans at the time that the conditional use was reviewed. Now, since then, the applicant has been meeting with staff, primarily the community development director, as well as our economic development team, to try and figure out how to bring this project into compliance. And I apologize, Steve Pruitt, sitting here on our front row, is the owner, or will be the owner of this site and this restaurant. We both talked about how this rendering does not adequately represent the material, board, which he has just brought before you tonight. Those are here in the city council chambers. So this was just kind of more of a placeholder, but the actual materials being shown here physically on this material board. This was an interim or revised elevation, just looking at ways of where we can identify additional masonry. But the final composition really is this last set of diagrams that were included in your packet, this materials analysis. And I apologize, in the bottom right-hand side of these tables, you'll see where it says stone 104%, stone 90%. What that's a reference to is there's a minimum of 60% that's required, and essentially they're saying is that we're exceeding that. We're actually providing more than what is required, not 104% of the entire building, but just of the minimum requirement. I'm told that they're still planning on hanging the Formula F1 in the front window. Steve says it's out front. You can take it for a drive after the meeting, right? Isn't that what you said? So staff, again, is, we provided a copy of all the standards in your packet for reference in case any commissioners had a question. If for some reason you have a concern or an item, we're recommending that you approve the project subject to any further conditions that you might have tonight. The developer has been working very hard with our building permits office to get constructing on this site. As you know, our Redemption Bar and Grill, which is one of our rare sit-down places, has done very well in our community. Our community is very hungry for sit-down restaurants. You all know that, your residents here. We're all excited to see this project get going. So again, we are recommending approval. We've referenced the standards in your packets if you have any additional concerns. The property owner or the building owner is here, as well as the developer, Larry Myler in the back of the room.
All right. Then we'll turn to the applicant for additional information if you'd like to share anything.
Not much. I haven't been involved in a lot of this process. We've kind of left it to Larry and his crew. But what we've tried to do is come up with something that's really a little bit, different than what we would normally do when we first started on this path about 2 years ago. We've significantly upgraded the exterior materials in terms of what we want to do and try to get it something that's going to, be a beacon into the city, show well from Mountain View Corridor, and kind of go from there. We're going to own it, so, we're trying to put, the best foot forward. So if people decide they don't want to eat here, we've got, a building that's releasable. But
Well, I'll
we
be
don't
there.
think that'll
I'll be there. I've been there in
We don't
Draper.
think that'll be the case,
So-
so. But now we've changed our stone ideas a little bit. We originally had a stone we were going to bring in from Vietnam, but under the current circumstances, it's just too difficult to get it here. So we've gone to a Pella stone that actually comes out of Ogden. We found a nice replacement to it. It'll be in kind of an articulated pattern like that as it goes up. It doesn't show well in these lights. Has a little bit of a mica effect
Yeah.
once you get it outside. It'll be contrasted with a blue ephes, which is, stucco for lack of a better description. And really it's a real simple building. Other than that, other than the black metal wall caps and the canopies that go with it, it's really fairly simple from the outside.
All right. Are there any questions for the applicant?
Just the roof, is it flat or is it pitched?
The roof, it's flat. It has the parapets up above so we can screen all the HVAC and everything like that.
Okay, thank you.
It's about, I think, at the edge on the elevation there. I didn't bring my glasses, I can't recall. I think it's 26 feet high.
That's correct.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions for the applicant?
Were there any changes made to the landscaping plan?
No.
Okay. So the last time that this was brought forward, I made a comment about the featherweed grass, just having that one plant all the way around the parking lot. I would love so much if you would change that up with maybe one or two other plants. I think that just having that same plant all the way around isn't, it could look better. So that was something that I'd like to see, but I don't want to hold you back with grass, so.
So one thing that has been happening, and I apologize for jumping in on this comment. We have been working with a number of our development partners on drought-tolerant landscaping. And the local scapes service that is being offered by Jordan Valley Water, they have a lot of educational materials and incentive programs. I believe that this property would qualify because they were vested under our code before we adopted those newer standards. And I know that our landscape architect has been working very closely with various development partners to try and bring in that variety that you were talking about. The area, when Steve mentioned that the landscaping hadn't changed, the dimensional or the area that is required by code hasn't been modified. But I believe we are still working, I think, on the final landscape plans, yeah.
We're hoping
yeah.
whatever landscaping we put there,
Yeah.
you're not able to see anyway because there's
Yeah.
so many cars in the parking lot.
Right.
So,
You got a neighbor north of you that might admit that might happen.
and yeah, and we're not sure what's going to happen there. So in terms of how that's going to play in between with the auto mall as it's currently proposed, so.
But again, we're all working on that administratively. Tonight, we're just looking at just the elevations, but we are working with them on the landscaping.
All right. Any other questions for the applicant? All right, I'll let you have a seat.
Okay. Do you want to keep these?
If you can leave those for a second, that'd be great. Yeah, you can grab them in a second. So Adam, you would probably be very excited. He did bring a materials board in. And it does look really good, the material does. So it's, and Jackson could probably describe it better than I could, but it does look good.
No pressure.
No pressure. And so from that, is there any other comments or discussion by the planning commission, or are we ready to make a motion on this item?
I have a comment.
Have a quick note. I do like the materials chosen.
Did you hear that, Adam? Jackson approves of the materials.
Mine's more of a comment than, I don't know, for me, looking at the elevation, I think adding a little more trim around the windows or a little more window treatments would kind of give it more dimension. To me, it's pretty flat. And I get that I guess, is trying to look kind of like a garage where you would go and like take your car.
Have you been to the garage, Bill?
I've not, no.
Go over and look. The reason we did the windows this way is because there's so much activity
Uh-huh.
not in terms of people movement, but just to be visible so that you can see all that goes in because it's
Gotcha. No, I love the window treat. I love how much windows you have. It kind of opens up the space.
And
I
it
was
does,
just talking about some treatment
and it
around
does meet the
window.
ordinance of what's required with how it's designed right now.
Yeah.
And I think that is the bigger item. Some of these items are a little more preference than anything else. But at least from my perspective, I like the look of it. And so I guess the bigger thing is there any other questions applicable to any other items that may need to be discussed here?
Maybe an item that might help with Brady's question. Is this standard anodized aluminum windows, or are they a dark bronze, the glazing system?
we haven't made that decision yet. It really depends. We just put this material board together when we found out we could use stone.
Oh, okay.
I suspect we'll go to an anodized
Okay.
frame.
All right. Yeah, that'll be a nice look.
What we'll have to do, we'll do it though so we can match garage doors, which is the name. All tie in all the way around.
Okay. Yeah, I think that'll be a nice look.
Yeah, I mean, I do. Go ahead. I was just going to say, I do like the treatment that you've done on the sides of the buildings. You know, you really made it work all the way around it instead of just having the front facade. You've made it work the sides pretty well.
The
So.
things we've done
Andrea?
It is on the east side, limited
Uh,
space.
Will you go up to the speaker? It may be hard for them to hear you at home.
There's limited space on the east, outside the east elevation, where those garage doors are. Only, but it's, you know, it's only seasonal seating at best.
Okay. So it sounds like there is some limited seating outdoor.
Yes.
Any other questions, Andrea? Okay. All right. Any other questions from the Planning Commission? Then we'll look to make a motion at this time.
See, I would like to make a recommendation for approval.
Jackson with a second by Adam, and we'll call for a vote. Let's start with Heather,
Yes.
Brody,
Yes.
Andrea, Jackson,
Yes.
Adam, and Andy. Thank you so much, guys. That's our last administrative item. We don't have any legislative items at this time. Are there any additional remarks by the Planning Commission that need to be made? Seeing none, our future meetings are Wednesday, February 24th is a city council meeting. Thursday, March 4th is another Planning Commission meeting. And then Wednesday, March 10th is another city council meeting. We'll look for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll have Brody, and then all in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you, guys. Have a good night.